A long time ago.
Long time ago, yeah. So
Yeah.
my wife is from Southern California. We met in Lynchburg, Virginia at Bible school. And obviously when we had Judah and Levi, I needed to start taking them out to see their grandparents in Southern California. So I'm working in a Starbucks. And this guy comes by and sees my Liberty sticker on my laptop. And he goes, "Did you go to Liberty University?" And I say, "Yeah." And he goes, "Well, where do you live? What do you do?" And I said, "Well, I'm from Greenville, South Carolina, student pastor at a church." And he goes, "What are you doing in Southern California?" And I said, "Well, I married a girl from here. We're here to see my in-laws." And he goes, "I just absolutely love student pastors." He goes, "And I don't know any of them in South Carolina. So can we be friends?" And I was like, "This is so weird, but yeah, have a seat." What I didn't know is his name was Doug Fields. Doug was the student pastor for Rick Warren for 20 something
Yeah.
years. He wrote Purpose Driven Student Ministry. Like, the dude is an OG of all things student ministry. And so Doug started inviting me out to some of the conferences in Southern California, and that's when we met. You were the student pastor where?
At First Baptist Church, Grapevine, Texas.
Grapevine, Texas.
Yep.
So we meet in California, and then last year Nick and I were out there, and we reconnected.
Yep.
And I realized he's no longer a student pastor; he's with Empowered Homes.
Yes.
And so we begged, pleaded, and stole to get him to come out here. But this is a massive treat for us. You were where this weekend?
I was at Carolina Point Young Life Camp. I don't know if you've ever heard of an organization called Dad Tired. It's a bunch of dads who are tired. And it's really engaging dads to be disciple makers. And so that ministry, we had our annual retreat, and it's the second year being at Carolina Point.
Yeah.
And I spoke yesterday morning at that retreat and got
So
to.
we definitely could not afford him to get him out here, but I was like, if you're ever next to Greenville, let me know. And he's like, actually, I might. So he's been serving people all weekend, and we're just kind of his caboose on his trip before he goes back to Texas. So this is a real treat for us to have you here. I am going to ask you to awkwardly stand
I
on
know.
stage because
I want to be
recording this.
closer to the people, but I'm going to be far away from y'all.
Yeah,
So
so don't, if you, it shouldn't be awkward, but we're just letting you know that's why we're putting him here. But Bobby's with Empowered Homes,
Yep.
incredible guy. Everyone that I look up to in the student ministry world speaks such high volumes of Bobby, and I'm going, man, if you're good enough for Doug Fields, you're good enough for me. Really grateful to have you. I'm going to pray, and then the floor is yours. Father, thank you for this time. Raising middle and high school teenagers is not for the faint of heart. So Lord, whatever these parents brought through the doors, God, I pray that you would give us ears to listen and hearts ready to receive, whether we are doing great or whether we are just in the trenches. God, I praise you that we are all in the trenches together. Lord, give us wisdom, help us to grow as parents. God, I pray that you give us several incredible words just for us. Be with Bobby as he shares and as he encourages us and gives us food for thought as we grow as parents. And we praise you in advance because I know that you're faithful and you do it time and time again. So may this be a time of encouragement. May we grow as parents. May we leave here with practical things to put into play the moment we get back with our middle or high schooler later this evening. And so I love these parents in this room, these individuals, how much they mean to me and my family, but also how much they mean to the North Hills family. So be with us now, and we put it all into your really big hands. Amen. Hey, can we move on?
Amen. Yeah. I am so excited to be here with you guys. As Tim said, I think I was trying to do the math, Tim. 2015 is when we met, and I was student pastor at a church in Grapevine, Texas, and I love student ministry. I still do. I got 2 junior hires right now, but in about 2015, 2016, all the research was coming out. I don't know if y'all remember about like high school graduating seniors are walking away from the faith. And we were all the student pastors were all like what do we do, right? How do we fix this? And so I got with the experts and I actually went through a cohort with Fuller Youth Institute out in California, and they did a huge research project. The book is called Sticky Faith. And that research project, they studied 600 postgraduate students and followed them for 4 years. In those 4 years, they looked at not the kids who walked away or were no longer involved in church, but they looked at the kids who did stay involved in the church, who stuck. And so that's why it's called Sticky Faith. And so in their research, they found several correlations of why faith sticks. And if you go in order, 3, 2, 1, number 3 was a student understood his purpose or her purpose in the Big C church, meaning they didn't just go to youth group. They were part of the body of Christ, and they understood where they fit. That was a correlation for Sticky Faith. The second one is they had another caring adult, which could be a small group leader, it could be a youth pastor, it could be a children's pastor, it could be another family friend. They could all name another caring adult that invested in them and their faith. That's what made their faith stick. That was a correlation to Sticky Faith. But the number one correlation for Sticky Faith that they found in all those students was parents who modeled it at home, who modeled their faith, lived out their faith, led their families through their faith. That was the number one correlation. And so in 2015 and 2016, I was going through all this stuff, and I came back to my church and I said, okay, I'm a great youth pastor. I'm like the best. Tim's okay. I was great. I was an all-star, right? Not my kids. We had a legacy wall in our youth building, and so it had big canvas prints of all the senior classes. And I went, and I was just looking at those senior classes, and I was like, okay, not my groups, right? And as I looked, my heart began to break because I was like, I don't know where that kid is. I've seen that kid's Instagram, right? I know this family, I know this. And so I was like, okay, I need to do more for parents, to equip parents to be the primary faith trainers, to lead at home, to set the example at home. I need to do more for them than I ever have before. So that year, I accidentally stopped being a youth pastor because within a year of equipping parents, my pastor was like, this is exploding in our church. You're now the family pastor. And I was like, but I want to hang out with the kids. I want to go to camp and mission trip. And they were like, no, you need to do that. And God wired my heart, and I fell in love with it. A few years later, I got a phone call from a church, and it is in, oh gosh, where'd that go? Kingsland Baptist Church. They called me and said, hey, we want you to be our adult pastor. And I was like, what does that mean? That's super vague. They were like, you get to pour into parents because parents are mostly adults, right? Our church, we don't have a family pastor because we believe everybody on staff is a family pastor. We filter everything we do through the lens of the home. And Empowered Homes is a part of our ministry at the church. And in 2019, our pastor, whoa, hello. And in 2019, our pastor was like, why don't we give away all of our resources? Why don't we give all this stuff away? And so in 2019, I figured out how to create a website, empoweredhomes.org, and put all of our resources on there. We have thousands of resources for marriage, parenting, personal growth, and it's always and forever will be absolutely free because we want parents to win at home. We believe the church is the B team. Parents, you guys are the A team. But I can't just be like, okay, parents, go figure it out. I need to resource you and give you everything you can to win at home. I got the opportunity to play college football, little bitty NAIA school in Abilene, Texas. I was terrible. So I was on the B team. I was on the scout team. Anybody else on the scout team in any sports growing up? Raise your hand. Scout team. All y'all starters. There's no scout team people in here. I took so much pride. C team. Okay. I took so much pride in college in being on the scout team because I knew I was making the starters better and ready for Saturday. And that's what I feel like my role with Empowered Homes is. You guys are the starters, and I want to give all the resources I can to you. We're going to talk about a lot of the resources at your table, but just a little bit about me. That's my family. My wife, amazing. We've been married 18 years. My son, Charlie, this picture was taken, I think, last spring, and he's already like right here. Like the dude just shot up over the summer. Charlie's 8th grade this year playing football, and he's a little stud. My daughter is Chandler May. She's in 6th grade. She is now taller than my wife, so I need to update this photo. And then that little dude in the middle, that's Chapman West. He has, you can't really tell in the picture. If you get close, he's got the sickest mullet, and he'll tell you about it. He's like, look at my sick mullet, Dad. And he's in 3rd grade, and our family is awesome. My story, though, is a little different. What I get to experience now is not what I grew up in. Grew up in a broken home. Parents struggled with substance abuse. Dad was an alcoholic. Mom took whatever she could, in and out of rehab. They were married several different times. They were divorced. It was just chaos. I experienced so much just chaos. And so I believe God has put it in my heart to selfishly for myself to be the best parent I can be. And while I'm on this journey, I get to help other parents. The phrase that I always say is every single day I get the opportunity to be the dad I wish I had. And I want for you guys to be the parents, if you grew up anything like me, to be the parents that maybe you wish you had, or just to be even better than if you had amazing parents, you can be even better than them. And I'm super excited to be with you guys here tonight. Empowered Homes, we got a podcast. We got all kinds of stuff. You can check out all our resources. But tonight, we are talking about communication and your family. New York Times came out a couple years ago, and they polled all these parents, and they were asking, what's the greatest issues that you have? And you know, the big ones, technology, that was a big one. Cell phone use, that was a big one. There's a bunch of different things, but the number one surprising struggle that families and parents were having was communication. And you may be thinking, well, communication, that's not that big a deal. How many of you have a middle schooler that you have to repeat yourself over and over and over? Raise your hand, right? My son walked to the car a couple weeks ago holding one shoe. I don't know how he lost one shoe. And I'm literally telling him, you got to keep up with your things. He lost his ID. The kids have to wear their IDs at our school. He's lost it so many times. I was like, you're buying your IDs from now on. He lost his football pants in the locker room. And he has to go get new ones from his coach. I'm like, dude, did someone take them? He's like, I don't know where they went. And literally, he comes a couple of days ago before I came here, like last week. He's like, okay, Dad, I know you keep saying, keep up with your things. And with all seriousness and all sincerity, he goes, how do you do it? How do you do it? And I was like, buddy, I have been telling you how to do it every single day. And but when you have kids, sometimes you feel like you're just talking to nobody. We have a rule that started this summer in our house. How many of you'll say something to your kids and you'll get the, huh? Anybody get the huh? The huh is illegal in our house. Not allowed to say huh anymore. We're like, we're trying to communicate with you, and all we get in return is, huh? It's like, I just had a long conversation with myself. And so now the kids have to come up with a different phrase. If they say huh, boys have to do push-ups. My daughter, she's in tumbling, so she has to do a back tuck. It's weird. I know my family's weird. But now it's so funny because they'll catch themselves, and the new phrase is, pardon, Father? What did you say? How did you speak? They just don't listen. Communication. Wives in the room, if your husband's not here, don't throw him under the bus. Have you ever told your husband something and then they ask you about it, like maybe an hour later? Hey, what time's that thing we're supposed to go to? Anybody? Raise your hand, wives. Okay. Husbands, it's your turn. How many of you guys tell your spouse about something far away? Like, hey, I got to go on this business trip, or I've got to do this thing. And you talk about it and you put it in the calendar. And then when it gets closer, it's like you never told me. Anybody? Husbands? Don't raise your hand. Don't do that. So communication in our family is a big deal. And once we dig into this tonight, we're going to go back to the fundamentals. I coach my son's third grade football team. He's playing tackle football. And I got 20 third graders that don't know what they're doing. And so we go to the fundamentals, right? How to tackle, how to block, how to run, how to do the basics. And so tonight, we're going to hit a bunch of fundamentals, reminders that we should all be doing. And hopefully you're encouraged to go home tonight and this week to reevaluate your fundamentals. But I'm also going to give you some practical tools to implement today as you are getting better at communicating with your family. So as the primary faith trainer, Tim, do you have a phrase that you all use as a church? Primary discipler or chief discipler or... Yeah, primary disciple maker. So when I say you're the primary faith trainer, that's my language. So when I say that, just that's your church's language, is you're the primary disciple makers. And as the primary faith trainer, we have different phases of childhood. So you guys are mostly middle school, high school. How many of y'all have younger kids? Anybody have younger kids? How many of you have older kids that already graduated? Okay, awesome. So these 4 different phases. So you have the caregiver phase, which is birth to age 2. Birth to age 2, you're just trying to keep the thing alive, right? It needs to eat, it needs to sleep. We got to keep the baby alive. And you're just taking care of their needs. And then you shift into, from age 2 to 11, to this cop phase, where you feel like you're just saying no all the time. Stop doing it. Stop hitting your sister. Don't jump off the fireplace. Like you're just barking orders. You're the cop. And then you shift over from cop into a coach phase, which I'm in the throes of the coach phase now, which is super fun. But coaches, they're on the sidelines, right? They're calling the plays, they're communicating the plays, and they're letting their kids go and run the play. And if they mess up, they come back, we correct, and then they go back out. And then the last one is consultant. Those of you who have graduated kids, a consultant, the key here is if you are a consultant, you only communicate or give advice when asked. See, conflict happens when you're telling your adult child what to do. You should do this. You need to go through this. You need to have this. One of my best friends, his son just went to A&M, and he lives close to to the campus. And he parked on the street during game day and got towed. And he's like, "Dad, I got towed." And his dad said, "I told you need to look up the game day information for your street, but you didn't do it. So now, good luck, figure it out." You see, consultants wait till they are asked for questions, and then you consult and give answers. So of these 4 different phases, most of you, how many of you are caregivers? Anybody got littles at house? So you all caregivers. How many cops? Anybody got? Okay, got a lot of cops. What about coaches? Most of y'all should be coaches. And then consultants. Nice. So we got a range of different people. And the beauty of when we get parents in the same room, look around. You guys are in this together. And those of you that are in consultant phase, you can easily help those in the caregiver phase. But here's what happens with communication. Conflict arises when our kids need a coach, not a cop. Does that make sense? When our kids need a coach, but we're being cop, that's when conflict happens. And we feel like we're not getting through to our kids, and we're frustrated with our kids, and we're upset with them. And it's because I'm copping when I need to be a coach. And likewise, sometimes we can coach too soon when we really need to give some authority. And so for communication, these 4 phases matter. And if you're the primary faith trainer or primary disciple maker of your kids, what does that mean? What are we asking you to do? when it comes to communication and when it comes to actions of a primary faith trainer, there's three things that we always say with Empowered Homes. Number one, faith talks. These are regularly planned times where you get together as a family or individually with your kids and talk about Jesus. Sounds easy, right? I'm not going to do it, but I have in the past. I'm not going to do it here. No one raise your hand. But in the last 7 days, have you had a scheduled, planned time where you sat down and talked about Jesus with your kids? And it's not meant to make you feel guilty if you haven't. But we're busy, y'all. We got crazy things going on, and sometimes this is the last thing we have time for when it should be the most important thing that we do. And so with Empowered Homes, for Faith Talks, we have tons of resources. And I gave you one, the back-to-school guides that were at the table. Those are easy opportunities for you to leverage what's going on in your kid's life to talk about Jesus with them. Now, a Faith Talk is not a hour-long Bible study where you tell your kids, sit down, shut your mouth, listen to what I have to say. Like, we're talking about Jesus. Like, if that's what Faith Talk is, it's not effective. But what a Faith Talk is dinner time where you're intentional. There's activities that you can do that's in that book where you can engage and put it on your schedule. So if you haven't created a plan for when you do Faith Talks, today's a great day. The second one is God moments, capturing God moments. These are the headlines. This last week has been crazy, right? I don't care where you fall in line, like it's just been a crazy week. My son is named Charlie, and Thursday at school, a girl came up to him and said, "I wish your last name was Kurt." My blood was boiling. I wanted to go. I know the principal. He goes to my church. I called him immediately. I was like, I know this is inappropriate. I need to follow the chains, and I need to go through the email system and do all the things right, but I need you to know this immediately. But I leveraged that conversation with my son and captured that. And my son, who is upset by this girl, we sat in my truck and I watched and listened to him pray for her. That's capturing God moments. Even when things aren't going, we don't know what's going on, it's just those quick moments where we can say, okay, God, you were up to something and I can leverage this for your kingdom and for your good. And so a primary faith trainer, sensitive to that, meaning we are always looking for God in every aspect, both good and bad. And then fast forward this Saturday, my son had his first game. I wasn't there, so I'm getting play-by-play for my wife. She's like, Chapman fell on the ball. I think it was good. I don't know why. And so I'm texting my son. I'm like, what did Chapman do? Oh, he got an onside kick. Sweet. And so we're going back and forth. And then I get a picture of my son after the game. I should have put it up. Standing with his team in a huddle, and he's praying over his teammates. I'm like, man. And I got to call him and tell him, like, buddy, I don't care that you got an onside kick. I care about what you just did after the game with your teammates, right? Those are capturing God moments. Your kid comes home heartbroken because they broke up with somebody, or they got kicked off the team, or didn't make the baseball team. All of life is a God moment if you leverage it. So that's the second thing we ask primary faith trainers to do. The third one is milestones, leveraging milestones. I'll talk about milestones here in a minute, but spiritual milestones, cultural milestones, like your kids. How many of you have given keys over to your kids, right? They got their driver's license. Raise your hand. How many of you made that a moment with your kids to go, this is a way to disciple and give them trust and give them undying love, and then you're going to keep them on Live 360 and make sure they're not speeding, right? Like, we have milestones that are going to happen with our kids. How do we think through the lens of leveraging those for discipleship? So these three things: Faith Talks, regularly planned times. If you're looking for, like, what do I do with my kids? What studies do I do? Me and my son last summer went through Proverbs, and we wrote a devotional through the book of Proverbs, and it's really cool. It's called Wisdom Walks. It's on Empowered Homes. Download it. It's free. Wisdom Walks. And as we're going through different passages, there's a question that he asked me, and there's a question that I asked him so that we could have conversations. And I put those questions in there. So there's a question for the kids to ask parents, and there's a question for the parents to ask the kids to spark those conversations. We got to leverage the God moments and then milestones. Those are the three things. Pretty simple, right? We got time to do this. We can make this happen because sticky faith happens when we model this at home. So communication and your family. I got a few questions. We got a handout right here. If you like to fill in the blanks, I know some people like to learn this way. This is how I kind of like to learn. You can follow along with me, and I'll give answers to all these in the next few moments. If you don't, flip the page over and just like draw me. I don't know, doodle. You could do whatever. But this is just a way to keep track of where we're going today. So question, if you did a daily inventory of your words, are the majority of them used to correct or connect? You see there's a bar on your sheet. It looks like this. I want you to take a minute, and I want you to put your initials for every kid on this graph. Right now, my oldest, man, we're probably CC. Well, all my kids are CC. It's confusing, I know. But Charlie, he would be closer to connect. Chapman, I'm heavy on correct. So put your initials of your kid's name of where you fall in line with my words, connect or correct. Take a few seconds to do that. So here's another one. Don't be judgmental, but you can judge. Put your spouse's initials where you think that they rank as far as connecting or correcting. Do they correct more with their words, or do they connect more with their words? You get to kind of pick on your spouse. Or your spouse is amazing, you're like, they connect so well. So how many of you lean to correcting more than connecting? Raise your hand. Okay? How many of you are doing a great job at connecting? Raise your hand. Nice. So the principle is that we want to use our words to connect more than we correct. Yes, we have to correct. There's discipline that's got to happen in our home. We have standards. We have values. We have all those things. But even in the middle of discipline is a way to connect with our kids. I was getting on to my son the other day, and I was like, buddy, what are you thinking? And it was like God slapped me. It's like, hey, you're just like him, dude. Why do you think he's not going to do the same stuff you did? And I got to tell him that, like, hey, you messed up at school, and you called your friend a fathead, and we got a note back home from the teacher and all this stuff. And I was like, buddy, guess what I called my friends at school? And he's like, what, Dad? It's like, I'll tell you when you're 18, because it's inappropriate. It's like, I did the same thing as you. And he's like, really? So even in correcting, I leverage that for connecting. Here's another question. Do I use my words to bless what my family does? When I say family, I'm talking about your kids and your spouse, because that communication doesn't happen without all of us. So do I use my words to bless what my family does or who they are? Do I use my words to bless my family, what my family does, or who they are? What I mean by that is the only time you're praising or blessing your children is when they hit the home run, or they get an A on the test, they win the game, or are you blessing them because they're sons and daughters of the King of Kings? That's who they are. You see, I believe every kid has this burning question within them. I see it in my kids every day. Am I good enough? Do I have what it takes? Do people like me? am I pretty, right? This question for validation, this search for validation and approval. And as parents, we should be blessing who they are, not what they do. This burning question within them that is constantly going as parents, as Christian parents, we not only get to tell them what we think about them, we get to tell them what our Father in heaven thinks about them. And so when they come with you with this question, you get to help them take their question to the Father. And these scriptures are just a small sample of what God says about your child. We get to bless who they are. They are loved. They are children of God. They are saints. They are set apart. They are holy and blameless. They are bold. They are chosen. They are adopted. These are sons and daughters. And parents, can I just say one thing to you? All this applies to you too. All this applies to you too. So many times as parents, we take ourselves out of this equation and allow our Heavenly Father to bless us. This is how He feels about you. This is how He sees you. He loves you. He's tickled by you. He's proud of you. And so sometimes we parent out of weakness because we think we have to parent out of some strength that is not of God, but we should be parenting out of this validation and approval from our Heavenly Father who loves us, who is there for us, who believes in us. And so we get to then, out of the overflow of what God's doing in our own heart, pour that into our children. So 3 fundamentals. I want to hit these 3 fundamentals. These are the basics. We're going back to form tackling and blocking and running plays. These are the basics that we all know, but they're reminders that I have to remind myself every single day as a dad. So I'm going to show a picture on the screen right after this. I'm going to put it up for maybe like 3 seconds. But as soon as I put the picture on the screen, I'm going to ask you a question. Don't blurt out the answer to the question until I remove the picture. Does that make sense? Everybody ready to play along? Ready? What is red? Okay, what was red? Toolbox, stop sign, cooler, funnel, yeah. Nice. What else? Anything else you see that was red? Okay, now I'm not going to show you the picture just yet, but what was yellow? What was blue? What was gray? There's a lot of gray. So there's a lot of blue. There's like Maxwell Coffee House cans. The yellow light is kind of making the tires yellow. There's a bunch of colors that happen in this, but because I asked you a question that was very laser focused, all you could see in this picture was red, right? All you noticed was red. So the first fundamental of conversations is asking questions. So if I would have showed that picture and said, hey, look for all the colors you can see and what they are and the items that they represent. If I ask you that with the same amount of time, you guys would have picked up the blue things, you would have picked up the yellow things, you would have picked up the red and the gray because it was a better question. So how many of you, after school, ask your kids, hey, honey, how was school? What's your response most of the time? Fine. It was all right. It was okay. A better question is, hey, if you could go back, my kids love Back to the Future, and we love the 80s movies, which, by the way, 80s movies were not very good. Like, they were raunchy. Like, PG meant something different in the 80s. We had to edit some of that. But Back to the Future, a better question when your kids come home from school is, hey, if you got into the DeLorean and just went back to the very start of your day, what would you do differently? How would you change things? And I asked this to my kids after the first day of school, and my daughter was like, I went down the wrong hallway. I would go down the right hallway. And I was like, well, what happened when you went down the wrong hallway? Well, I saw Stacy, and she was there, and she actually went into the wrong class. And we talked for 30 minutes about this one incident that happened. And I got a better picture of what was going on in her world that day. I asked my son, my youngest, I was like, buddy, if you can go back, you can change the day, what would you do? He goes, I'd probably just like slow down time somehow so we could finish our game at PE because we were winning, Dad. We were going to win. And he explains the game to me. I still couldn't, I don't know how they play. It's called like donkey socks or something. So elementary PE teachers are a blessing. I don't know how they do it. But he was explaining this game and all this stuff and wanted to show me how to do it. And then he explained, like, telling me about lunch and so was at lunch. They were talking about the game and I got more insight than it was fine. And so what I gave you in those little packets, the conversation kits, there's a ton of better questions that we can ask our kids. There's after school conversation starters. There's questions that you can just leverage and chime in. There's date night questions. There's different stuff, even with your spouse. How many of you have ever gone to dinner or been on a date and you feel like you didn't talk the whole time? Maybe because you're just exhausted. Man, pull that out. It's on the website too. I pull it up on my phone, and I'll be like, all right, give me a number between 1 and 100 because there's 100 questions. My wife's like, 44. So I'll go to 44, and that's the question for dinner. So we can talk and have conversations, right? Asking better questions. Here's 3 questions to add to your just Rolodex, which I know that's a dated term, but your Rolodex of questions. Number 1, ask your kids, hey man, what's your biggest struggle right now? What are you struggling with? I asked my daughter a couple weeks ago, and she's like, math is dumb. And I was like, you're right. We have calculators with us all the time. That whole joke of like, you're not going to have a calculator with you every day. I'm like, yeah, I do. It's right here. I can figure out math. And so she's struggling in math, and we got to talk about that. Second question is, hey, how can I pray for you today? We've used this in our home so much that it's just a normal language that we have. Something special happens when I'm not asking this question, but my kids are asking me. You create that culture with these questions. And the last one, if you have younger ones, this is funny. The older your kids get, the more impactful this is. How do you know I love you? My youngest son, he used to say, man, Dad, because you play Legos with me. I'm like, dude, I'm going to play Legos with you as much as I can. That's how you see me giving you value and worth and answering your question, then, man, I want to play Legos. My oldest son, we went to Gulf Shores, Alabama this summer. We got this crazy free condo thing. It was a blessing. And we're sitting on the beach, and it's just me and him. And I said, man, I love being your dad. And he said, Dad, thank you for loving me. I know you love me. And I was sitting there going, he's in 8th grade, he's 13. It just rocked me to my core that I never received that from my father. And he doesn't have to question or wonder ever if I love him. Because I'll give there's nothing he can do for me to love him less or more. Because that's how my Heavenly Father treats me, right? And so these 3 questions add to your, and here's a pro tip. Don't ask all these at the same time because your kids are going to be like, you're up to something. What are you doing? You went to some parenting class and you got these questions and now you're coming trying to trick me. Like just sprinkle them in on the way home, from school or practice or whatever. Just kind of throw one of these around. And you can text too. You can text with your kids as well. So asking questions is the first fundamental. The second fundamental of healthy conversation is active listening. Active listening. Everyone in your family needs to be heard. Everyone has a voice. Everyone deserves to be heard. I used to throw a slide here, and my wife told me I couldn't do it anymore. It was a quote from her. It says, just listen to me, right? Because every time we would talk, she would say something about whatever situation or her friends or all this stuff. And I'm like, well, you know what they need to do. They could blah, 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 and I start fixing it. She's like, I don't want you to fix it. I just want you to listen to me. And our kids need that too. Everyone in our family needs to be heard. Fred Rogers, y'all remember him? And Daniel Tiger. We used to tear up Daniel Tiger. But this is one of my favorite quotes from him. It says, listening is the very active awareness of the coming together of at least two lives. Listening, as far as I'm concerned, is certainly a prerequisite of love. One of the most essential ways of saying I love you is being a receptive listener. I remember as a kid watching Mr. Rogers, and he's in New York or wherever he filmed it. But I remember he would ask a question, and he'd look at the camera, and I would answer as a kid watching it. Like, he's listening to me, right? He just had that crazy ability to engage, and that's what our kids deserve from us. To get off our phones, be less distracted, and give them our ears. So why is it important? One, listening shows respect. It shows that you respect their worldview, that their thoughts, their ideas has merit, even if sometimes they say some crazy stuff and you're like, that's not right. But you get to give them respect. It builds trust. Mom is trustworthy. She will listen to me. Dad is trustworthy. He will listen to me. And it validates perspective. It validates what's going on around them. Sometimes our kids, especially middle school, high school, they're trying to navigate so many crazy waters, and their perspective, if we just blow it off and we don't listen to what's going on, they're going to shut down, and they're not going to engage. And so we have to validate their perspective. Even if it's completely wrong, that's what we get to do, is to guide them in the right direction. So here's some tips. Being a good listener. See from the other's perspective, and this works in your marriage too, right? See from your other's perspective. Like, kind of put yourself in their shoes. Put yourself in their shoes. Here's a picture that's on our fridge. My wife, I don't know why or where she found this, but that's me, junior year of college or of high school. She found this magnet, I guess, in an old box that my mom had, and I've tried to take it off the fridge our entire marriage, and she just keeps finding it and putting it back up there. But last year, my son played 7th grade football for the first time, and she put his magnet next to it, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to leave it on the fridge, because that's a constant reminder. I remember middle school. I remember 7th grade locker rooms. I remember those things, and so when he says or talks to me about stuff, I try to put myself back into his shoes, and this is a reminder for me. Another one, be fully present. Limit your distractions. I know a lot of times no one in this room does it. Maybe it's just me. I'll get a video from one of my buddies, and I'm watching it on whatever, YouTube or Instagram, and I'm watching the video, and I'm sitting there, and my wife goes, hey, the kids are talking to you. Are you going to listen to them? Gut, like knife to the heart, right? This happened like 3 weeks ago, and my wife would kill me to tell you this, but my buddy sent me a video. It was some stupid golf video, and I pull it up, and I'm watching it, and I'm like laughing, and I look up, and my wife is like, we've been talking to you, and she turns her phone around for 3 minutes and 54 seconds. She timed how long it took for me to be distracted and not listen because I was in the phone. Again, none of y'all would do that, right? Ever. I'm confessing that we may or may not struggle with our devices. So for us, being present, we got to limit distractions. Read their nonverbal cues. You know your kids better than anyone else. When your kid comes home and they just look off, read that. You're listening even in that to the nonverbal things. Show curiosity, have an open mind. Here's a phrase that I probably wear out the most in my home is help me understand. My kids will talk about something, hey, buddy, help me understand this. My oldest plays Fortnite with his buddies, and I don't get it. I play with him sometimes, and I'll like go hide in a bush. Like, if y'all know what Fortnite is or seen your kids play, I don't get it. But he's like, oh, we got to get this skin and this pack with this thing. And I'm like, bore me to tears. But that's what he likes. And so I want to show curiosity. I want to ask about it. I want to do this. Sometimes I put my foot in my mouth. It's like, so y'all really just dressing up a cartoon, like with different outfits? Like this is what Fortnite is? He's like, no, Dad, it's so much cooler. I'm like, nah, I don't know. But I'm keeping an open mind, right? I'm engaging. I'm playing with him. I'm trying to go into his world. Because while we're playing Fortnite, I can simply ask, hey, man, how's that relationship with Nathan that you've been struggling with? He's like, oh, it's fine. I was like, no, for real. His buddy Nathan, they're having some issues, and he's trying to be a middle schooler to navigate. And so showing curiosity allows me to have those more deeper conversations. And then it's okay with silence. How many of y'all love silence? Anybody in here love silence? Put me in a deer stand for 6 hours. Don't talk to me. I am the happiest human in the world, right? But some of us, if we ask a question or our kids aren't responding, we just got to fill it out and we got to let it breathe. Be okay with silence. One of my good friends, she tells a story about a girl she mentored at the Big Brothers Big Sisters. And this girl that she mentored would come and they'd sit down for an hour every week and she wouldn't say anything. And so my friend was like, I can't do this. Like, I don't understand what's going on. And then slowly she started to speak and say and talk. And then fast forward 15 years later, this girl's an adult and she's married and she's got kids. She tracks down Megan and tells Megan, hey, can I talk to you? And says, hey, thank you for just sitting with me. I had so much going on as a kid. I didn't know how to articulate or get the words out, but you just sat with me. And sometimes with our kids, the greatest way to listen is just sitting there in silence and just let your presence speak for you. So here's something you can do if you're willing to. Evaluate yourself and get feedback. Ask your kids, hey, do you feel heard by me? I asked my kids and they were like, no, because you're on your phone watching golf videos. Do you feel heard by me? How well do you think I listen to you? Let them, don't defend yourself, just listen. And then ask for feedback on how I can improve. What can I do? So joke about the phone, and I asked my kids, I was like, all right, I'm off my phone. What do you guys think I should do when I get home? And they were like, go put your phone in your bedroom. And all of our devices charge at night in our bedroom anyways. But I was like, okay. So I started doing that. I started just plugging my phone in, and I come in, and I don't need to be on it, right? I'm done with the day. I just want to spend time with my family. I don't need it. But we get sucked into this world, and so I charge my phone, and it's so much better. And that was their idea. And so if you're willing to get feedback and evaluate yourself, this is a powerful thing. Now, if your kids say something that is borderline offensive or not appropriate, don't let them dog on you, right? Don't let them just bulldoze you, but have an honest conversation about these things. Number 3, third fundamental for healthy conversation is routine and rhythm. So here's what I want you to do, okay? I'm going to give you, how much time we have? We got plenty of time, right? Okay. I'm going to give you three minutes. If you're with your spouse, y'all can talk together. If you're not with your spouse, just figure it out on your own. Monday through Friday, how many pickups and drop-offs do you have? Like, for example, I've got 3 kids. 2 go to the same school, but their drop-off and pickups are different every single day. Son has 6 o'clock football. Daughter is getting there when the bell rings at 8:30. Middle school, or my youngest goes to elementary. His is 7:30. So we have 3 in the morning every day. That's a lot. And then we have 3 after school every day. So do the math. I'm going to give you 3 minutes. Figure out how many pickups and drop-offs that you have. Sports, add all the things that you have. And if you have a driver, praise you, that doesn't count. But for you, how many pickups and drop-offs? Ready, go. 30 seconds. And time. Okay. Who has the most? I have a gift for you, and I'll explain these cards to you. Who has the most? Throw a number out. We got 17 over here. Anybody got more than 17? 17 going once. 22 over here. 25. What do we got over here? 22. 28. So 28's winning right now. How many kids do you have, 28?
We have 4 at home.
4, okay. Anybody can beat 28. It's a fun game. Crazy. So I want to give you these cards. So I'm going to talk about these cards too, because these are on our website. These are conversation cards that you leave on your table, and you open them up and you shuffle them and you just pull one out, and at dinner time you just have a conversation. We have all those on our website as well. But routine and rhythm, 28 times. So for us, it's 36. Crazy. We're busy. So how in all the stuff we have, just in pickups and drop-offs, how are we supposed to have faith talks, capture God moments, and celebrate milestones when we're running around everywhere? We leverage what's already happening in the time that we already have for discipleship. So if you think about that number that y'all wrote down, 25, 28, 17, that's 17 times you get to have a conversation with your kids. Now, there's times where you're like, I don't even want to hear your voice right now, right? I get it. But if you switch your thinking of just leveraging what you're already doing for discipleship, it's a game changer. Every day is an opportunity for this. And we're not asking you to add more stuff to your plate. We're asking you to be intentional with what you're already doing. Our routine and rhythm, if you look at Deuteronomy chapter 6, it talks about impress these things upon your children as you break bread, as you lie down, as you get up, as you walk along the road. So for us, the table, car time, bedtime, morning time, when does your spouse or child talk the most? When are they most open to conversation? So if we look at the table, mealtime, forever, I used to get so frustrated because my youngest child is a free-range eater. He will not sit still. He just will grab something and come over here and play with Lego. I'm like, dude, sit down. Why can't you sit down? And we'd be so frustrated with him. Anybody ever y'all have kids like that? So I get so mad because I'm like, mealtime's supposed to be family time where we're supposed to talk about Jesus, and I'm getting so angry. And finally I had a mentor go, it's okay if it doesn't work for your family. That doesn't work for you all in this season right now. I was like, oh, I don't have to force this thing, right? So table is getting better. Like we have one night of the week that we're actually all at home. It's Friday nights. And we have a rotation of the kids that pick a meal. I missed this last Friday, but my son picked Mexican lasagna from Walmart. He loves it. I think it's gross, but he picked it. And then they sent me a picture of them at the table. And so we're getting to a place where the table's a big deal. The car, their kids can't leave. I mean, they can tuck and roll, I guess, but they're stuck. They're stuck in the car. Great opportunity for conversation. My wife and my daughter, it's happened since my daughter could talk. She has car chats with Chan. That's what she says. Just our car chats. So many times after gymnastics, I've gotten better, but I'll hear them pull into the driveway, waiting. She's in the driveway, car running. I'll go out and be like, you good? Like, everything okay? And they're just talking, decompressing and all that. And so I leave them alone now. Unless it gets too long, I'm like, you're just burning gas. Like, turn the car off, right? But the car is a great, for her and my daughter, and even when she rides with me, I mean, the second she sits down to the second we get to where we're at, I don't think she breathes. She just talks, and this, and this, and this, and this. And I'm like, there's times where I tried to play a game, like, I'm not going to say a word. I'm just going to listen. And she just talks and talks and talks. That works for her. Bedtime. My wife is like a 6-year-old woman and wants to go to bed at 7:30 after eating at 4. Sorry, that was probably offensive maybe. But I would tell her to her face if she was right here. She does not like the evenings. She wants to get ready for bed and lock it. So since the kids have been babies, I do bedtimes. I love it. I do. I sit, I read, we talk through different things, and I go to each kid's room and we pray together, and I leave every single time. I walk out, I say, Chandler May, who are you? And she goes, I'm a daughter of the King. I said, that's right. I talk to my sons, who are you? We're sons of the King. That's right. That's the last thing I say before we go to bed. Bedtime is a magical time. Now, your kids can stall. I need water. I gotta go potty. All that stuff when they're younger. Now, I catch myself with my son. Like, he wants to talk, but he wants to talk about nothing. And I'm like, dude, I gotta go to bed. Like, I don't know. You're not making any sense anymore. So you just don't want to go to bed. So you're trying to drag me through this. I want to go to bed. So you got to leverage that. And then morning times. Here's a pro tip for morning times that we have adopted, and I challenge every parent to adopt. Morning times is for encouragement only. Encouragement only. Set your kids out the door encouraged and blessed. My daughter got caught sneaking downstairs. I didn't happen to see her iPad on the charging station, and she had it in the kitchen, and she was sneaking downstairs texting her friends on her iPad, and she got caught. And the next morning, she was already in bed when we caught her, or my wife caught her the next morning because her iPad was like in the wrong spot, and she's like, this is weird. And so she's making coffee, and she starts reading through all these messages and looks at the time. It's like, oh, this was at 10:30. This was at 11. And my wife's like, oh, we're about to go DEFCON 4 on her. She broke the rules. And I said, mornings are for encouragement. We'll talk about it after school. And my wife was like, no, I want to kill her. Like, no, mornings are for encouragement. And so we let it go because there's nothing we could do, right? We didn't want to ruin her day because that was going to be a hard conversation. So that when she got home from school, we had the conversation. But mornings are for encouragement. I hate mornings. I get up super early. Don't talk to me. I want to drink my coffee. Leave me alone. But my wife loves it. She's like putting flowers out, and she's opening the curtains, and she's going through, and the kids come down from the stairs, and she's like, give me a hug, and they hug at the stairs. I'm like, y'all have fun with that. I want my coffee. What works for you guys? It's okay if it doesn't fit the normal mold. We had to leverage and figure out what works in the routines and rhythms for us. Stop comparing yourselves to other parents, to other families. Well, they do like this thing, and they do great. What's going to be your thing for your family that works for you guys? It's okay. I'm giving you permission to figure out your routines and rhythms that work for you. So the other thing that we do with our kids is we try to do one-on-one time. So in our routines and rhythms, my wife takes my son. Y'all remember in elementary school the father-mother or the father-daughter dance, and then the mother-son game nights and stuff in elementary. My son in first grade went to the mother-son thing, and it was awful. My wife was like, this is like, they put a bag of Cheetos on the table and there's Uno. Like, what are we doing? And so Charlie said, Mom, can we just go to Chick-fil-A? And they were like, yeah, let's get out of here. So they went and did that. And then Charlie was like, can we just do this every year for Mother-Son Night? And so every single year, they go to Chick-fil-A, and they added this the next year. They buy a Lego set, and they sit there till he finishes. and they just talk and hang out. And this was last year. He got this like 500-piece car. They were there for like 4 hours. I was like, they got like seconds. Like my son was like, you think I can get another sandwich? Sure, go ahead. Can I get a milkshake? They were just going through this whole thing. For my daughter, our routine and rhythm is we try to do, not every month, but once a month. She loves, I don't know where she got it from, because I'm just Southern and simple. Whataburger or McDonald's is great with me. She has high taste in food. Like, girl can eat some sushi. She can eat like these high-end things, and she loves it. And I know all her friends talk about it and stuff. So we try to find a fun place to go to. We went to this hot pot place last time. It's where they like put these vats in the middle of your table of like different seasonings and different oils and water and all this stuff, and then you cook your food in it, and then you eat it. And I'm like, it was so expensive. Like, I cooked my own food. Like, but like it was special for us. Great conversations over that. And then my youngest son, I don't know why, and he's incredible at it. Dude loves Topgolf. Like, 3rd grade, he is every shot just boom. He's so good that he's trying to teach his older brother. It's like, hey, here's what you're doing. You know, you're not keeping that wrist straight as you're going through the. So me and him, we do Topgolf dates, just me and him, and it's so fun. So find in your routine and rhythm time for moms and dads individually with your kids. I know that can be incredibly difficult. I'm telling you, there's so much value in that. So those are the 3 fundamentals of healthy conversation: asking questions, active listening, routine and rhythm. Those are the basics that we just need to be reminded. I need to be reminded of those things over and over and over. Now I want to give you 4 tools that you can apply, take home, and start using these things today, okay? So 4 tools for communication. Number 1, confession over concealment. Now, if you've been in church for a long time, you probably know these words, but at the simplest form of confession over concealment is, on your kid's worst day, do they come and confess things to you, or do they conceal things away from you? How do we create a culture in our homes of confession over concealment? Because I want my kids to come to me no matter what they've done, no matter what sin that they've committed. And isn't that what our Father in heaven wants from us? To confess and come to Him and stop hiding from it, right? We want the same for our children. So how do we do that? Here's the principle. We make everything discussable in our homes. We tell our kids, there's nothing off limits. You can come ask mom or dad anything. And here's the thing, especially those of you with high schoolers, you probably already know this. You can come teach this part for me. Your kids are going to come and learn things from their friends, and their friends are mostly idiots, right? They don't know what they're talking about. But would you rather them learn from their friends or learn from you? That's what we tell our kids all the time. You can't shock me. I've seen so much in this world. You can't shock me. I want you to come learn from me. So these things, my son is starting to come home and ask like questions about, hey, Dad, what is blank? And I'm like, okay, this is getting serious. But we talk about it. We're open about it. My youngest came home the other day, and he's like, hey, Dad, I need to know what this word means, but I'm scared to say it. I'm like, buddy, I like reach in my back pocket and give him a free pass, like a invisible pass, and I hand it to him. I was like, all right, you say it just this one time. And he's like, but it's the F word. I was like, oh gosh, is it fart? And he's like, no. And he said it, and I was like, man, thank you for being brave enough to say that. Let's talk about it. Let's discuss these things. My daughter, a couple years ago, we're sitting on the couch, and a commercial comes on for feminine product. And she goes, Mom, what is that? We're sitting on the couch. It's just me, my daughter, and my wife. And my wife goes in this long dissertation about what those are for and what they're used for and all this stuff. And so eloquent and age appropriate. And I'm sitting there like, get me out of this room. Like, I want to leave. Get me away from here. But we've created this culture where everything is discussable. And so 2 things of how you create that culture. One, you tell them and make sure that they know there's nothing they can hide or nothing you can share that's going to shock me. We have a phrase in our house. I couldn't tell you where the origins came from, but if our kids come up to us and say, hey, Mom, hey, Dad, pots and pans, that means that's our code word for I want to talk to you about something. And maybe they don't want to talk in front of their siblings. Maybe they don't want to talk about in front of people in our home or whatever, but pots and pans. If I can, I drop everything. I'm like, okay, what do you want to talk about? And typically it's something pretty heavy or they've been wrestling with or struggling with, so pots and pans. Find a key word. That's simple if you want to. The second tip with making everything discussable is after you tell your kids, hey, you ask me anything, anytime, anywhere. But how many of y'all have kids that are kind of more shy? They don't really want to they don't verbally communicate a whole lot. I learned this from my buddy. He took a journal, blank journal, and he told his boys, he said, hey, this journal is on my nightstand. If you ever have a question about anything, I want you to take the journal and write a question. And when the journal's gone, that means I know you have a question, and I'll figure out which one of y'all has the journal. And then he'll go get the journal, and then he'll write a response in the journal, and they'll communicate, and then they'll have a conversation later about it. But that initial nervousness sometimes our kids don't know how to verbalize. That may be a great tool for you to use that journal and allow your kids to just write down a question or a thought or something they're struggling with. But make everything discussable is a huge component, and it's a culture that you have to create. Our kids, when they were little, real little, is Santa real? We said we're going to discuss everything and tell the truth and speak the truth and all this stuff, so we had to talk through all of those things. Santa's awesome. Most of my family still does Santa and all that, and we had to tell our kids, you can't ruin it for other kids because that's a big deal. And my youngest almost ruined it for his cousin. They were spending the night, and I was like, no, don't say it, because they were talking about all these things, and it's part of the components of making everything discussable. Is you're going to get to some truths that are going to be countercultural, and sometimes they're not going to be popular with a lot of people. But I'd rather that than the opposite. Second tool, I want to give you the 10-second principle. 10-second principle. So we were talking to a group of parents just like you, and the youth ministry was walking by, and the students, I was talking to them, and we were just joking, and they said, hey, one of the boys, he was a senior, I said, hey, I'm about to talk to all the parents. What do y'all want me to tell them? What do you want me? I was just kind of joking, and he goes, just tell them to not freak out when we come to you. Tell them don't freak out when we come to you. So I was like, man, that was powerful, and I told the parents, and so the 10-second principle is those first 10 seconds when your kids come to you, don't freak out. First 10 seconds. They may come and tell you and confess some things to you, and inside you can scream, you can shout, you can freak out, but externally, here's why. Those first 10 seconds will communicate to your kids, I can trust mom, I can trust dad, they're a safe place, or they're not. And if you freak out and blow up and lose it, immediately they're going back to concealment. Oh, I'm not doing that again. I don't want to experience what I experienced again. And so they start to hide these things from you. First 10 seconds are imperative for us as parents to receive. My son, middle school boys, I was kind of waiting on this to happen last year. He pulls me aside after we get home. He's like, Dad, can I talk to you? I'm like, dude, you know you can, always. He's like, and I could tell he was like nervous, super nervous. And he goes, Dad, I've been like seeing some stuff on my phone that I know I shouldn't be looking at. And I've been wanting to tell you for like 2 weeks. I'm freaking out on the inside. I was like, I knew this was coming. It's part of it, man, that you can't hide or get away from the garbage that's in our world. So I paused, and all I could think of was 2 weeks you have been sitting on this, struggling with this, wanting to come to me for 2 weeks. I said, I'm sorry you had to wait for 2 weeks, buddy. Thank you for sharing it. I'm so proud that you got the courage to come and talk to me about it. That was the first 10 seconds. Now, I wanted to grab his phone immediately and like smash it into a million pieces and throw it into the bayou. We have bayous all over in Houston. I was like, I just throw it over the back fence. But in that moment, I communicated, I'm safe for you to come to. And I'm so proud that he had the courage to come and talk to me. So don't freak out, first 10 seconds. The other side of this is don't fade out, because your kids may come to you super excited, the Fortnite thing. Hey, Dad, there's a new season, blah, 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 all of this. And I was like, I don't care. Immediately they go, Dad doesn't care what I'm into. And if you fade out, when they're super thrilled or pumped about stuff, I'm not going to go tell my dad because he didn't care about me, right? First 10 seconds when your kids come to you, good or bad, remind yourself, okay, 10 seconds, 10 seconds, 10 seconds. Let me take this. Now, I have a dad that I do life with. He's in my men's group. He always jokes, and he goes, my kids know the 10-second principle, and they'll come up to me to tell me something, and they're like, Dad, you're going to need 10 seconds. So, about to tell you something, so just get ready. You need 10 seconds. So 10-second principle is a key tool to put in your tool belt when it comes to communication. Number 3, winning at conflict. The principle is teamwork makes the dream work. Conflict is going to happen, especially in your home. How do we leverage communication through conflict to be successful? We are a team. We always say we're Team Cooley. Our house, the people in this house, we are on the same team. We're going to fight for each other internally and externally. We are on the same team. And so what that looks like, and I'm sure if you've ever seen some marriage counseling and different stuff, how do we leverage whatever the conflict is internally in our home? Whether brother, sister are fighting, or I'm arguing with my son, or whatever it is, for us as parents, the adults in the room, to go, it's not me versus you. It's me and you on the same team versus whatever the problem is. To remove me versus you out of your home is making teamwork, making the dream work. Because we got to be a team no matter what's going on. And the same for conflict externally. Our kids, I'm sure you've dealt with families, you've dealt with other kids that bring external conflict. If your kid has a cell phone, you are welcoming in conflict into your home at all times. It's part of it. It's not bad, but we have to leverage that and tell our kids every single day, this team is going to support you and has your back no matter what. So whatever you're facing when you leave this house, when you come home, you're safe because this team is in this together. And so teamwork makes the dream work when it comes to conflict. In your marriage as well, if you disagree on what the consequences are of the punishment, you got to be on the same team. And you can't do it in front of your kids because they're watching everything. You got to be on the same team. You got to get together, communicate, and then execute whatever the consequences are for whatever it is together. Teamwork makes the dream work. So again, it's how do we separate me versus you to me and you together, locked arms, versus whatever the problem is. It removes it, and it makes it less personal, and we get to attack those things together. Last one. Number 4, this one's easy. Watch your mouth. Watch your mouth. Parents, you got to watch your mouth. Your kids are sponges. They're listening to everything you say. Children model parental behavior. Do your words foster a sense of security and trust in your home? You got to watch your mouth. And there's several different areas of watching your mouth. One, I tell my kids, I will never speak ill of their mother in front of them. It's not going to happen. Her mother says the same about me. We guard each other in that. I could be so mad at my wife. Don't tell her I said that. She could be irritating me or doing something, and it's visible on me, and my son gets in the car, we're going to practice. That's not the place for me to divulge what's going on between me and my wife, right? We got to watch our mouths. We can't do that. It's not fair for your spouse, and it's not fair for your kids to hear those things. So we got to watch our mouth. The other side that we watch our mouth is how you talk about your kids to other people, especially if they're around. Have you ever been telling a story about your kids, maybe with a couple of other families, and you're sitting there or whatever, and you don't expect your kids to be listening or paying attention? My daughter, we were having dinner with a bunch of families from church and everything, and my daughter was, it was a super goofy thing. She accidentally let her panties hang out of her dress, and she was in first grade and whatever, and it made no sense. Well, no, back that up. She had an extra pair of panties that somehow got stuck to her dress, and it was sticking out the back. That's what it was. And she went to school all day with these sticking out, and I was super cute, and it was kind of funny. But we were telling this couple of man, Chandler came home, and she was oblivious, and my wife Jen saw it and was whoop, just kind of put it in her pocket, she didn't know. But she heard us telling that story at dinner to one of the couples. She was playing, and she was like, I had panties sticking out of my pants all day. It just crushed her because I was talking about her behind her back, and she heard me. So we got to watch our mouth, how we communicate. Guard those in our homes with the words that we speak and the words that we say. The other thing, and this may be just super practical tool, if you say it, your kids are going to say it. I've got 2 boys on my football team that I'm coaching. The things that come out of their mouth, I'm I don't know what's going on at your home. They're saying curse words that I've never heard before. They're making up stuff. And I'm you got to be learning this at home. They're picking up on everything. How many of you, I used to struggle real bad with yelling at my kids. I've worked through a lot of that because that's how I was raised. I was raised by 2 yellers. And so I remember vividly this one time, I hear my son yelling at my oldest son yelling at my daughter about something, and my daughter yelling at my younger son about something, and then I'm yelling upstairs going, what are y'all yelling about? And my oldest son was like, that's how you talk to us. You yell at us. They're doing and modeling everything that we do, so we have to be intentional to watch our mouth. So 2 resources that I recommend, 2 books. This book, How to Listen So Your Kids Will Talk, is incredible because most of the time we talk about how to talk to your kids so they'll listen. This is all about how we hone in, and it talks a lot about technoference and how technology kind of gets in the way. The other one is What Do I Say When? This dude right here, Andrew Walker, he is a brilliant mind, and I've had him on our podcast a few times, and he'll say words that I'm I don't know what that means. I need to Google real fast. He's so smart, but his wife is super practical and amazing. She helped him write it. But there's tons of topics in here, what do I say when our kids come home talking about homosexuality or the hot button things in culture and all these things? It gives you some real practical tools on how to have those conversations. It's a really, really good resource for you. So with that, we got 5 minutes or 10 minutes. What questions do you guys have for me? And I've got one last thing. Any questions, comments, thoughts?
What's your podcast?
Empowered Homes podcast. Empowered Homes. you're going to hear me and Meg, our Empowered Homes director. You're going to hear all our stories and all the things, and we're going to talk about life. But we also interview a lot of people who are helping with resourcing parents. We have a lot of marriage interviews and different stuff like that too. Shane Pruitt, I interviewed him last week. He's an author and speaker. He's coming out with a book. Forget the title. It's something about the different kinds of Jesus that we offer our kids. And so, like, you have the genie in the bottle Jesus, where we're presenting this type of Jesus to our kids that if you just make wishes or prayers, then he's going to answer those. Like, that's not biblical. And so how do we give them biblical Jesus? That was a fun interview. That comes out in a couple weeks. But any questions, thoughts? Yes, ma'am.
Since the phone incident with your son, what kind of protections have you all
Yes. So God was gracious in that moment for me to not freak out. And I think it was because, he's growing in his relationship with the Lord, and I could tell the weight of that was on him. And I didn't sense that he needed any more pressure from me because the Holy Spirit was convicting him, and that's why he came to me. And so I told him after we talked about it, I said, I'm going to take your phone, but we're going to take 24 hours. And because this is a conviction, I want you to pray and ask God what he wants you to do with this. Ask him what he wants. God has convicted you. And so pray and spend time asking, like, okay, God, what are you teaching me? And what do you want me to do? And so I gave him 24 hours, and we came back, and I said, okay, you feel like God has told you anything? He goes, I got to delete YouTube. He had the YouTube app. And he goes, and I need to get rid of Safari, which he had Safari for school, but we can use a different app that he can turn in his grades and all that stuff. And this was all from him. Like, he felt this conviction, and he said, to stand for Christ, I need to be without sin, and to do that, I got to safeguard. And so I talked to him about different parameters and different things. Look, I know families that have the Bark app, they've got all the technology. Our kids are digital natives and can work around every system we have. I have a buddy who put every restriction on their phone, which we need to. Like, if you put restrictions, I have his phone locked down. I've got all the things that you can put on it. And we got to do that, but we can't be naive that they're not going to work around it. One of my buddies, his son had a spell checking app or a thesaurus app, and somehow if you type in the word wrong 4 times, it then opens up a Safari page in the app, and that's where he could search whatever he wanted. And they're so smart. But it's a heart issue, and that's what I wanted with him, is like get to the heart and allow God to speak to him, to lead him, to shepherd him. And I don't always handle those well, but I felt like I did something right on that one. And that was almost a year ago. It's been a check-in almost weekly. I'm like, hey, you looking at anything? You see anything? And I'll say it straight out to him, like, just us. He's like, Dad, no, like it's just common language for us. It's not taboo. It's just part of how we communicate. It's a good question. Yes.
So for the confession over concealment, I mean, clearly if your kids come to you with something that they shouldn't have done,
Yeah.
I mean, you still have to.
Oh, there's absolutely consequences. Yeah.
So, I mean, I feel like a lot of this has to do with, like you said, the kid's heart and their nature, because
Yeah.
some of the stuff I could see working and some of it I can't see working,
Yeah.
depending on how your kid. So, I've got one child who has flat out told me, I will not tell you anything
Yeah.
because I know that you would punish me. But that's where his heart is. I don't want punishments. I'd rather just keep it to myself. When I've done something, I have another child who would tell me things, and he would take his punishment, and he would talk it out, and it
Yeah, you can never break that line of communication. Be like, okay, if that's how you feel, that you're not going to come to me, I just need you to know you can always come to me no matter what. On your worst day, and you don't know where to turn or what to do, I'm right here for you.
And so then my son, who's a concealer, would say, and then when I come with you, come to you with something, you're going to feel like there needs to be some sort of punishment. And so am I supposed to not punish with my concealer?
No, absolutely not. I mean,
Can you see how he would come to
if there is if there's a a sin, or if there is I don't know, if he broke the law, I mean, you got whatever it is, if there's something that is deemed needing consequences, you can't let your kids not feel that. Like, it's part of growing. It's part of, our kids are going to fail. It's okay if they fail, but how do we help them get back up and learn from those mistakes? You can't just be like, oh, because then you're getting into a whole nother problem where they get away with whatever they want. And so you have to create that bridge that never will ever be broken down between the two of you, and you got to communicate that over and over with him, and you got to prove it. You got to prove that you're willing for him to come to you no matter what. If he doesn't like the punishment, anyways, we can talk more. Seems like there's a lot more to unpack with that, and I'll catch you after this. Anything else? Yes.
When you're talking about the bless who they are and not what they do,
Mm-hmm.
if you're correcting, like if there's a part of their character that needs changing, I feel like I'm
Ooh.
always getting on them about like tone of voice or
Yeah.
whatever it is that I feel like I'm not blessing them with how I'm correcting them with
Yes.
this. Do you just need to make sure your blessing of what they are doing right is more, or how does that?
Very selective in what you're saying. So I learned this with my youngest. My daughter, she can still be like this. She could just be flat out mean. I didn't know girls could be so mean. Like, you're pretty, but man, you're just mean. And she would do stuff like hide the boys' Legos, or they hide their toys. Like, my son got a new football, and she was like, he couldn't find it anywhere. And it was like she was just sitting there going, I hid it. Like, just mean. And we caught ourselves when she would do these things going, Chandler May, you're so mean. Why are you so mean? And we were saying that. And then my wife and I heard her say it to her, and we were like, that's not who she is. She is not mean. And so we had to change it. Chandler May, you are not a mean girl, and you do not act like this, because that's not who you are. That's not the God that's inside of you. Like, you are not that. And so we had to flip. It's a subtle change, but I didn't want to speak that identity over her that she thought that she was. I wanted to make sure she knew that's not who she was. And so we bless who they are. We got to be very careful of the words and identifiers that we use with our kids. And yes, absolutely, the things that they are excellent in, man, pour on top of that. And let that, my son, he plays football. He's not the greatest player out there. And he always wants, Dad, how can I be better? How can I do this? How can I do that? Blah, blah, blah. He wants to know all the ins and outs. And I said, did you work hard? Yes, sir. Did you have fun? Yes, sir. You do your best? Yes, sir. You did awesome. Like, stop worrying about all those things, because I don't care of how you performed. I care about your character and who you are. And so that's where we can kind of bless those things instead of the negative. Does that answer that a little bit? Yeah. Very good. Okay. So last thing for you guys, with empoweredhomes.org, all of our resources are free. All of the stuff are free. And if you would do me a favor, because I'll be able to see these the next week. If you will go to the homepage, empoweredhomes.org, on the homepage there's a newsletter. If you would like to get our newsletter, it's just parenting tips and different things for marriage and all that stuff. If you sign up from today until next Sunday, I will put your name in a drawing and mail you a limited edition, amazing Empowered Homes coffee mug. And they're pretty legit too, by the way. So if you want to do that, to sign up for our newsletter, we send it out every other week with new resources and new stuff that we have. And we'd love to have you as a part of that. And I'll keep track of it from today till next Sunday, and then I'll mail one of you a cup. But if you don't do it, you don't get a cup. It's pretty sweet. They're heavy and they're nice. So, anything else? Can I pray for you guys before Tim comes up? I want to pray for you. I'm so grateful to be with you tonight. I love this guy. I love this church. I love what y'all are doing. And I just want to bless you guys. Let's pray. Lord Jesus, thank you for the homes in this room, the homes representing gospel presence in neighborhoods all over the city. God, I just pray right now that the homes that are in this room, not just today, but forever, God, will see themselves as a glimpse of the gospel to the neighbors next door, and how these parents are raising their children as arrows to be thrown out and to change the world and to push back darkness. God, may we take that very, very seriously as parents, to disciple, to be the primary faith trainers in our homes, God. God, I pray for the parents that are hurting and struggling right now. A room this size, I guarantee you there's parents in here that are struggling. God, I pray that you would just give them wisdom, that you would speak grace and love over them so that they can lead through whatever the situation is that they're going through. And God, I just pray that as we continue to grow as parents, God, we would just draw ourselves closer and closer to you, because that's the only way through your power that we can raise children. If we want our kids to look like your son, Jesus, God, may we look like your son, Jesus. If we want our kids to fall in love with your word, may we fall in love with your word. May we set the example to the next generation. I thank you for this time. I thank you for these families. And I pray a blessing over them. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. And North
All right.
Hills, let's likewise pray for Bobby. So if you can extend a hand. God, thank you so much.